Hey everyone, so this is going to be a get ready with me style video where I just have a casual catch-up chat with you and yeah, get ready I guess. Not getting ready to go anywhere in particular, just potentially filming some videos after this, or maybe just doing my makeup and then having a bath and washing it off. So it's a Saturday night and it's freezing cold. It's not winter yet, but it will be very, very soon. But I've got a nice cozy jumper dress on and I just felt like filming something. So I thought this might be something interesting. At least if I'm going to get ready to film another video, I might as well record it and have a chat with you all. So I'm just going to keep it kind of simple. That's the plan at least anyway, so we'll see how that goes. I've put some moisturiser on already so it's soaked in. I just used a First Aid Beauty Ultra Repair Cream, I think in the tub. I think that's what it's called. And I let that soak in completely, so that way I could use my powder foundation, which is just a Bare Minerals foundation, and buff that in. I'm using the colour Fair, like most of the other products that I have. It's either called Fair or Light or Pale, but generally Fair. So I guess a little bit of an update for you. What's new since the last time we had a chat? I guess I'm not sure if I really went over it with all of you, but my husband and I were actually thinking about, I think I did mention it briefly, but could be some more details I guess. We're wanting to purchase a property, a different type of property than what we have now. So at the moment our house, it's what we wanted at the time. We purchased the house 5.5 years ago. It was our second house. The house before that was our first house and we lived there for 8 years or so. And then we bought this place. So we've lived here for 6 years. And during that time, I guess the house is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. We still like it. But I guess what we want from a property and our priorities and just our needs have changed a little. We wanted a pool when we moved into this place. So it didn't have a pool, but it had room for a pool. And we ended up building one. And we haven't used it as much as we would have liked to have. And it's because of a multitude of things, I guess. The positioning of it for us, we kind of like late afternoon swimming. We're both fair and we burn very easily. And where it ended up being, it gets a lot of sun. So for a family that loves swimming, it'd be great. But for us, we just weren't using it as much. And at the time, we were both getting home really late from work and we just didn't have as much time to swim. A couple of the summers, unfortunately, we had terrible bushfires for one of them, and we couldn't even go outside of the house because of the smoke for a whole season. So that stopped us swimming in the pool for that season. But yeah, so it just, generally, we haven't gotten as much use out of it, and when we did swim in it, it does have a heater, but it stays quite warm because it's got a pool cover on it, and it's self-cleaning. So it's got cleaning jets in the bottom. It's actually really low maintenance for a pool. So that's been terrific. Like anybody thinking about getting a pool, we've got, I think it's called a Compass is the brand. They supply, different people supply it, but it's a Compass pool and it has self-cleaning or in-floor cleaning. Best decision ever as far as getting a self-cleaning pool. It's really low maintenance. We get a few things out. You need to obviously clean the skimmer box and stuff like that, but with the pool cover and the self-cleaning, it's great. It's low maintenance that way, and we very rarely need to top up the chemicals. The evaporation is quite minimal with the pool cover. That's another thing, pool cover. We didn't have one for a really long time, and then we used the pool cover because we bought a roller for it. Before then we didn't use a pool cover because it was a hassle. But yeah, it keeps the pool really, really hot, which for some people probably isn't a good thing. But for us, we were using it more like a spa, because on the bench we actually got spa jets put in where the bar is, like the bench seat. And that's what we find that we used it the most. So we've decided that if we do get anything in the next house, we'd probably get a swim spa instead of a pool. Because that's just the types of things that we were using the pool for. Just more relaxing and winding down, and that might be nice. But still, if you get a swim spa, you can still swim in it. But yeah, so that's one of the differences. We've still got quite a lot of yard still left because of the position of the pool and the house, and we're not on a tiny block. We're on about 600 square meters is the block. So compared to the average block around here, which is say 450, some blocks are 250, which is, to me, that sounds so small. But yeah, so average is around 400, 450. So it's not a small block, and I think the house is set to one side, so there's still quite a lot of land. So I think it'll be good for a family as well, which will be hopefully good for resale. But my husband and I, we've just been thinking about, you know, what we want. I think we want a little bit more space as far as land, and just something a little bit more tranquil, like not rural, like farm rural, just a little bit more land. When I say a little bit, it's actually quite a lot. But we're looking at properties, probably 1 acre plus. We did look at a house that was on 2 hectares, which is 5 acres, I think, if my math is correct, because I think 1 acre is 4,000 square meters, which is 0.4 of a hectare. So that means 5 acres is 2 hectares, I think. Live math, we'll see. I'm just using a Bare Minerals concealer. It's a powder concealer, just on some of my little spots. But yeah, so we're looking at something like that, maybe with some trees and just something where we could be outside and have peace and quiet, where our neighbours are a little bit further away, where if, you know, they've got a dog or kids or just playing music, it doesn't disturb us as much. So, you know, also so we can just, if we're working from home or getting home from work, relax, like sit outside and just listen to nothing and just be able to relax. There was a property that we looked at. We're not ready to buy yet. We're probably looking at, you know, say 12 months, the next year and a half, 2 years, depending on, you know, what becomes available. But yeah, so that's the idea anyway. But we've been looking at different types of properties just to get an idea of exactly what it is that's suitable, or what it is that's not. So we did look at a property that was 2 hectares, and it was lovely. It had really nice trees and just was really, really nice. But the land was probably a bit much for us. It was a bit much to maintain, and yeah, it was a little bit too big, I guess. It was also very expensive, probably more than what we would be budgeting for. And that's another thing as well, is that prices have gone crazy. If we had have bought that type of property when we were buying this property, it would be, you know, a 3/4 of the price, maybe even less, depending on some of the areas. So it is what it is. That's not what we were looking for back then, so you can't live in the past. But yeah, so we looked at that, and that gave us some good ideas because it made us really focus in on what we wanted from a property. Originally we were looking at buying a place or like building another place in a new estate, and that's completely off the table now. It's not something we're interested in. We're not looking at building a house in a new residential estate. We were originally doing that so we could have designated home offices, and yeah, we decided that that's not a high priority. We would prefer to have more land and just serenity and something like that instead. So yeah, anything between say 1 acre and 5 acres. 1 acre is probably the lower end, so that's 4,000 square meters. But if it's shaped correctly and it has the correct outlook, then that's fine. Even slightly less than that may be okay. But the reason why we're looking at that is that that much land is that eventually my husband is seriously considering potentially having birds, like a big aviary in the yards one day maybe, and we'd like to have some room for that. Plus also we've been toying with the idea of having sort of like a tiny house set up for a home office. That way it's in the yard, separate from the house, and potentially even having like 2 offices and maybe like a bathroom or a mini bathroom in between. That way if my husband's working from home or I'm working from home or both, we can both be separate from the house. That way work is kind of not inside where we're meant to be relaxing, because that's been kind of difficult over the last year. I've been working from home pretty much full time, and that's been a challenge, is trying to separate work from home. So that's something that I would really like to have, that completely separate space. Even now what I've done is I've moved my home office into this room. There's a desk with like a designated desk, height adjustable one next to me here. That's because the room that I was using was my personal space where I would relax, and that's where my personal computer and things like that are. And I was finding it really stressful being in the same space. When I'm trying to relax, I couldn't switch off from work mode. So I know a lot of people probably feel the same way, particularly those of you who have been working from home. Is it's really good to have a designated spot. That way you can kind of work, close it off, and then treat it like you're leaving the office, I guess. So that's something that we're thinking about. It might be really nice. And this one particular property that we looked at, the one with a lot of land, we just thought if there was an office there, it would be really, really nice if you were just feeling really stressed. You could step out and just take a few minutes to breathe and relax before going back in, and it would just be really nice. In saying that though, what we are looking for is very specific, and the hardest part is going to be finding internet. So I might just do, what am I going to do next? Do my eyes next. I'm using a mixture of some MAC eyeshadows, so just some neutrals and nudes. I'm going to keep it really simple. So yeah, the hard part is just getting the balance right because of the internet. So a lot of rural properties that we're looking at in areas have mobile fixed wireless, essentially like a satellite for wireless internet, and that's not good enough. It's too slow, it's not stable enough, and if I'm working from home and the things that we do, we like computers. We like downloading, streaming, gaming, uploading for YouTube is another thing as well. It's just not going to cut it. So we've decided that we need to be able to have at least fibre to the node at the minimum, and fibre to the curb would be better. Fibre to the premises is the best. So at the moment we have fibre to the premises, and yeah, that's essentially like NBN or cable. Not cable, cable's a bit different, but for those of you in Australia, it's like NBN. So you can get higher speeds, and it's, you know, more stable than other things. But a lot of the places don't have that. So that's the first thing we look at. We look at the area, if there's something that we like in it, and what internet is available, because that is going to pretty much dictate, can we actually live there? Because there's no point getting it if we're not going to be able to actually live there and it doesn't suit us. So that's going to be the hard part. A lot of people think it's strange that we make such a big deal of it, but I've heard about people moving in to a house and then realising that there is no internet connection there and they have to go wireless, which is spotty. And if you know, if it's cloudy or stormy, or you lose line of sight or anything like that, or just things get in the way, it'll have an impact potentially. So that's if you can even get that at all. And then you've got ADSL, but some areas are so overloaded that you're on waiting lists and you have to use wireless or like dongles or wireless broadband or whatever it is before you can actually even get a connection, because they're not starting new connections. Some areas they won't even give you any idea about the plans because it's all on hold at the moment anyway. So some people think we're crazy, but for us it's a really big deal, and so we'd rather be prepared. So we've got it down to a few areas that we're looking for or looking at in particular, and yeah, there's also transport wise. So my husband will need to commute mainly to just outside the CBD, but if we can find a property that has connections to one of the motorways out here, even though it's further out, the commute time would be the same or slightly long, just a little bit longer. And for me, if I have to catch the train, there is a country train at some of the areas, or I could potentially go in with him and catch a train from there. If I do work from the office, which we've returned a little bit, it's a little bit hard for me travel wise at the moment, and I will fill you in on why, because I haven't really spoken about it, and that would be something. It's not a good news story, it's quite a horrible thing, but I will tell you. But yeah, for me it's in the CBD, so I'd need to also make sure that I can get there. But if there's a train station, that'd be great. It's a little bit slower, but depending on traffic, sometimes it may be faster than me driving to the station that I catch the train from at the moment. But in a lot of the areas that we're looking for, as long as it's connected to the motorway, I could actually get to that train station within a similar time. Where I live at the moment, I still have to drive to the train station, which takes about 20 minutes, give or take, maybe a little bit longer depending on traffic. In the afternoons, it's generally a little bit longer to get home because of traffic. And so the other areas that we're looking at on the very edge of where we are, it's probably a half an hour to 35-minute drive, depending on traffic. Whereas the train can be a little bit more, a little bit less, but the trains aren't as regular because they are country trains. They're not even electric trains, they're diesel trains. They also get cancelled quite a lot. The tracks go through rural areas, farmland, lots of trees, and freight trains mainly in those areas. So they do close and stop quite frequently. So that's another reason why I may not rely on those. It would just be nice to have just in case. But I may end up just driving to a more major train station and just catching the train from there. Because generally my station is the second last station, and then one after that, which is another one I can go to, is the last station on the electric line. And yeah, if they're cancelled, sometimes they'll have bus services to replace them, other times they don't. And yeah, would really suck. So that's another thing that we have to keep in mind. But yeah, so we're looking at a few places, and that's just an update on that. I guess the transport situation, so I'm going to just lightly touch on it. It is a bit of a sensitive topic for me, and I would imagine for a few people. But with transport at the moment, I actually caught the train the first time the other day by myself, and it wasn't that many stops because my husband drove me most of the way, but I still had to catch the train in, and I was in a bit of a panic. It was a bit difficult for me. Just before I started working from home full time, I was assaulted on the train. So it hasn't been something that I had to really face, because after that, with the global situation, a lot of people were working from home, and we ended up working from home full time. So I hadn't really had to commute or catch the train by myself or think about it. But while I was off, I was kept up to date by the authorities, and after it had happened, I had emailed myself the description of the person and key features, what train I was on, just things, because I thought I didn't know if I was going to remember any of it. And I got to work. I completely broke down in front of my boss's boss, and it just happened to be one of the only people in the office at the time. And yeah, they sent me home with a close colleague in a cab, and my husband came home, and we went to the police station to file a report. And they were really good, actually. They were really supportive, and I felt comfortable. I got a description. They passed it off to a specialist area, and they kept me updated the whole time, and it was great. They were really good about it. With the description I gave them, they were able to identify the person through their transport card and through security footage. They were identified. They went to the house. They admitted to everything, and they were charged. So it happened late February, and they were charged in September. I know things were a bit slower last year with everything going on, but I didn't know what to expect. But yeah, so that happened, and yeah, so they kept me up to date the whole time, and it was difficult, but there was some finality and some closure, I guess, in that sense. The hardest part now is how to deal with that. And I did speak to somebody, and after it happened, and a few things after that happened unrelated, which also I kind of needed help processing, and that helped a little. And I haven't been back to see her for a little while, for that at least, so I'm going to see how I go. Yeah, so I haven't had to think about that, but the hardest part is not having the control of whether or not I'm going to see that person or not, which it's unlikely. It is unlikely, and I'm actually going to change the type of train that I catch. Just little things like that. But it's just building up my confidence again, I guess, and having to be in that situation where I haven't had to think about it for a while. So, yeah, that's not a great story, but it happens, and you know, talking about it shouldn't be frowned upon, I guess. And if it happens to you, I would strongly encourage you to seek help and speak to somebody. Let the authorities know. And yeah, don't let people get away with that. Don't let them take away anything from you or make you feel like it's something you did, or that you could have done anything differently. It's been a while now that it's easier for me to talk about, I guess. It's still, it almost doesn't feel real, but I can talk about it now a bit more. But yeah, it was tough for a while. So that's something that I will be facing for a little while I get used to catching public transport again. But I will see how that goes. So yeah, we've gone back into the office. I've been in a little bit, and we're going in a little more frequently, but not all week. So we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping it gets easier, and I think it will. It's just trying to remain calm and positive, which normally I am, but sometimes it's hard. But sometimes life is hard, so, you know, it's not always easy. And I don't mean to sound cynical or anything like that, but I'm pretty much a realist, so I also don't really sugarcoat things. And yeah, sometimes things are hard, but you know what? It really does make me appreciate the good things a heck of a lot more. So I think everything that's happened this last year, I have really been able to pinpoint what matters most to me, and make decisions for the rest of my life about what I want going forward and what are my priorities. And it just comes down to looking after myself, I guess, and spending more time with family, doing things that I love, or doing nothing at all and being okay with that. I'm just going to use a Nyx Brow Gel, or brow, what is it? Whoop! Just tinted brow mascara. So yeah, so it's weird how we were going from looking at new builds with extra bedrooms to accommodate for an office space, but they're on smaller blocks because land here in new estates is crazy, stupidly expensive. It's just ridiculous. Like, housing costs in Sydney are insane, and that's another thing that we need to look at and hope that the market stays good for when we sell, because where we're, like, obviously more land generally costs more, and you'd think moving out further it wouldn't be as expensive, but it still is. It's insane. But it's what we want, so I guess, you know, we have to find something that is within our means or our budget, and if that means we have to wait a little bit longer and save, and so be it. That's just what it is. You kind of have to have a focus and a goal about what you want, and then be realistic about the time frames for it. But yeah, so, you know, now we know it's a complete 180 from what we wanted. But after looking at a few of the properties that are more like what we think we want, we decided that, and we knew, yes, that's definitely what we want, is something quiet and peaceful. And originally we're like, oh, we kind of want new build or not an old house. But after looking at some of the areas that we're in, we've been looking at some of the older houses. Not, our first house was quite old. I think it was built in the 50s, maybe a little bit earlier, but it was an old fibro house, so that's full of asbestos, which is fine as long as you don't disturb it. But if you want to do renovations or even DIY renovations, things like that, knocking down, it becomes very expensive because you need special removalists for asbestos, and you can't disturb it because that's when it becomes very dangerous as far as the dust and particles. So the one thing that we don't want is an old house that has asbestos, because we do like to do DIY stuff, or like drilling into walls and putting things in places and just doing some stuff ourselves. So even if it is an older property, that's okay, as long as it's not asbestos, because that's one thing that really restricted us in our first house. But yeah, so that's one of the other things. So we don't mind an older house, even with less bedrooms, because the idea is that we'd build a separate dwelling, really small kind of thing, outside for a home office. So yeah, I will keep you updated and maybe even take you along to some open houses one day. It's hard to film in those things, but even if you're interested, I could do like a search to give you guys an idea of types of properties and the prices out in Sydney. If you're curious, let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing, and I can work out how to do that, like a split screen thing where I can go onto the real estate websites and show you an example of the types of things that we're looking at, and let you know. So leave a comment if that's something that intrigues you. Next I'm just going to use mascara. This is a Rimmel mascara. Yep, it's Rimmel, like a lash extender type mascara. I've never used it before, so we'll see how this goes. But yes, so what else? What else is new? I don't think there's anything else that's really that interesting. What have I been watching? I have, some of you who follow me on Instagram may have seen that I started watching This Is Us, and I liked season 1, and season 2 wasn't too bad. I think I'm at season 3 now, and it's a bit strange. I'm not quite sure I like season 3 quite as much. A few episodes in now, and it's not as bad, but the first episode was bizarre to me. I didn't really like it. But yeah, season 1 and season 2, gosh, they had me crying almost every single episode. Just, there were some things that happened and I was like, oh, that hits real close to home. So yeah, I know I'm a bit slow and a bit behind yet again. It's sort of like when I was watching, what was it called? Oh, I mentioned it in my last Get Ready With Me video. Ow. The Heart of Dixie, yeah. I was really behind on watching that, but this one's clumping together a little bit. On camera it might be fine, but I'm not sure I would wear this one. I'll see if it brushes out though. Yeah, I was a bit behind on Heart of Dixie as well, but yeah, so I'm watching This Is Us. Another one that I've been watching is Mayor of Easttown. I actually really quite liked that. It's definitely not a feel-good TV show, but I like it. I do like it. The second last episode, not the most recent one, but the one before that, I was like, whoa, that just happened. Those of you who watch it will know. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, but you know, it is what it is. What else? I was watching Fear the Walking Dead, which again, I'm behind, but now I'm up to date. I was binge watching that pretty seriously. And there's a few other things. Is it Walker, I think, with the guy that was in Gilmore Girls and Supernatural. I think it's Walker. That's something else I've been watching. Another one, I started watching The Handmaid's Tale a little while ago. Now I'm up to date with the most recent one is where I'm up to now. I'm a little over it, if I'm being honest. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I don't know how old it is and how long it's been out, and if spoilers even are relevant now. But just the more I watched The Handmaid's Tale, and I don't know, because I don't really read books. I don't enjoy reading. There's very few, this is really clumpy mascara, there's very few books that I have enjoyed actually reading. So I do understand that it's a book. I think my mum said that she read it. She hasn't watched the show because she's worried that it wouldn't be as good as the books. The first season, it was okay. I think there was, is it 3 seasons or something? I don't know. I'm up to the most recent one, whatever it is. But just watching it, I was kind of like, look, come on, just get over it. Like, the main character, I just started getting frustrated with her. I don't know, if you've watched it and you feel the same way, let me know if that makes sense. I just lost compassion for her. Like, I don't know, there's just something where I'm like, sick of her a little bit. I don't know if that's the idea, but that's the way it makes me feel. Next I'm going to do blush. It's just a Sephora blush, like a pinky peach sort of colour, like everything I have. What else? I know there's a few bits and pieces, things that I've been watching here and there, but those are the main ones, I think. If you've got any recommendations for things to watch, do let me know. I watched Yellowstone was another thing I watched. That wasn't terrible, it was alright. But yeah, it was fine. Yeah, if you do have any other recommendations for TV shows to watch at the moment, I think I've got Netflix, Prime. I had some free trials on Stan and Binge, so there were 3 months free. So I've still got that going. I'm not quite sure about Stan. I don't watch it quite as much as Binge. So I may end up cancelling one of them, but we'll see. I'm going to explore a little bit more. So if you have any recommendations for anything on Australian Netflix, Prime in Australia, I don't know if it's different to Australia, like Amazon Prime, Binge or Stan, let me know. Okay, I'm going to line my lips. This is a NYX Lip Liner, just a neutral colour. It's a bit chunky sometimes. It's not quite so smooth. It's very, very soft. It's in nude. I was going to say it's a nude shade. It's actually called nude. So I'm going to just sort of colour in my lips a little bit because I'm going to use this is actually one of the beauty products that I've bought recently. It's one of the only beauty products that I've really purchased in the recent future. I was going to say that doesn't make any sense, but recently. It's a Revlon Kiss Glow Lip Oil in 009 Bouncy Beige. So I don't mind this. It's very, very sheer, but it smells nice and it makes my lips feel good. So I need a bit more colour, I think, so I'm going to use lip liner. So yeah, it's a little bit chunky. I might be able to rub it in a little. So yeah, what else? Still liking making the ASMR videos. I might film one of those. It's later at night now. I was going to film earlier today, but my next door neighbours, this is another reason why I thought it'd be lovely having some land, because I could just sit outside and have the sounds of nature, birds and just the breeze going through the trees, and even having like I would love to have a lake with like a little swimming hole on my property. Oh, that would just be ideal, but yeah, it's not common. I also quite don't know what would be involved in that as far as water testing and things like that, but you know, I'd look into it. But yeah, that'd be nice. But yeah, so ASMR, I was going to film earlier today, or even last night after work, but next door knocked down their back shed and was putting a concrete slab in, I think for knocked down their back fence and poured a concrete slab. I think they're building a shed. So this video is actually going for a lot longer than I thought it would. I didn't think it would take this long. See what happens when you get me talking? I just lose track of time. Yeah, I'm almost done though. But it's always nice to have a chat. I like catching up with you all. Even though you can't talk back to me live, although there's an idea. Maybe that's something I can do depending on time differences with a lot of you, but I do like to read the comments and get the interaction back that way. So for me it feels like I'm talking to you. Hopefully it feels that way for you. But yeah. So yes, I think they're putting in a shed, so they were really loud, and with my microphone it just picks up all the noises. So it would have been driving me nuts editing it, and I'm sure it would have driven a lot of you nuts as well listening to it. So it takes a lot to set up for those videos. With this one, all I do is turn on my ring light, turn on my camera, set up and go. With the ASMR videos, I kind of have to have something that absorbs the noise, because this is just a normal room. I don't have soundproofing or anything like that. So I kind of put blankets around me. That seems to have worked well. I got a lot more positive feedback, and so I think I'm closer to getting the levels right now, and it'll change each time. I'll have to set it up each time, but it's getting better, which is good, and so that's good to hear. A lot of you gave me some really good feedback. So silky. So if anybody's looking for something sheer, there's a couple of colours in this and I actually really quite like it, and it smells like vanilla, cupcakey, caramelly. It smells pretty good. Like sweet, sugary, nice. But yeah, it's really, really slick, oily kind of a feeling, which I don't mind. It doesn't last very long and there's not a lot of colour, but that's what I've kind of been going more for these days. It's just that subtle kind of look. It's not sticky at all. So if you hate sticky lip glosses, this one might be nice. It's just really slick and hydrating and slippery without being sticky. It's not sticky in the slightest. I don't mind sticky lip gloss, but I know a lot of people hate it, so maybe the Revlon Kiss Glow lip oils might be a good option for you. But yeah, so I am thinking about filming some more of those videos. I do want to film a perfume collection. That is one of the videos I really, really want to film. I just keep hitting a wall to think about how I'm going to film it. I know a lot of people film it and they just have their perfume set up all nice on their table and pick each one up and go through it, but I don't want to take all my perfumes down from where they are, and they are everywhere. Case in point. So I don't know if I'm going to film it where I can just like be behind the camera and show each of the perfumes, or if it's more interesting to have me in front of the camera sort of holding up each perfume, or at least being in the frame and pointing. I kind of feel like me being in the frame would be more not entertaining, but like better to watch than just looking at perfumes. I don't know, if you've got any feedback, please let me know. I may end up trying to film it this weekend while I've got some time. Maybe next weekend. I really just want to get it filmed because it's something that I really want to do. But I think for me, perfume is one of my bigger passions. I really enjoy fragrances, and I put a lot of work into my fragrance reviews and my fragrance videos in general. That's why I think this one, I want it to be good because it's really important to me. Like, I want all my videos to be good, but when it comes to perfumes and fragrances, it's just, that's my thing, that's my jam, you know, it's what I enjoy, and I really want it to be a good video and something that you want to watch. So I am thinking about doing a normal version and an ASMR version because I know it's highly requested. It's just with the ASMR version, I think a lot of you want me to hold the bottles and like light tapping noises or things like that, which I can completely understand. And visually it would be just a lot nicer that way for the ASMR video. I just need to work out on that one, so that might take a little bit longer. So the normal version I'll probably film first, just because the ASMR is going to take a lot more setting up and a little bit more finessing. And yeah, I do need to film the second parts of each of the Story of My Life versions. I got completely split feedback as far as crackle candle or no crackle candle, but for those of you who liked the crackle candle, a lot of you said just keep it further away from the microphone, which I personally, that's what I thought, but I wanted to get feedback from all of you. So it was good to see that what I was thinking was on a similar track to a lot of you. So that's something that I'll try in the next video, is keeping the crackle candle maybe back behind me. I'll need to play around with this setup so there's like a maybe nice ambient glow or something. I could film it in this direction and maybe have the padding all around me that way, but with the crackle candle, the normal candle is just normal. It makes no noise. It's just a nice kind of glowy flame, relaxing kind of a thing. But I'll film the second parts of those. So in both of those I tell the same types of stories. There's no script, so it's like whatever comes into my mind, but it's the same time frame, so you may get little bits different in each of them, but for the most part they'll be the same. So the next part will be from, I think, when I'm about 10 onwards, and yeah, I'll see. I don't know what I'm going to say. I just kind of sit down and start talking, kind of like this video. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for now. Oh, this has gone for such a long time. I thought this was going to be like a shorter video, but I like to talk. I like to have a chat. I like to catch up. And done my makeup, so it's, you know, it's not that bad. I think it's kind of just simple and basic, but you know, it's alright, it's fine. If you've got any comments or questions or anything like that that you're wanting to know, or again any video requests, please do leave them below. I really genuinely appreciate getting the feedback and getting the recommendations. That's, you know, something that really helps, I guess, guide me, and let me know what you're all wanting to see. But yeah, on my next list of things that I want to get done is there's a few fragrance reviews. There was a couple that I thought, oh, I might film one tonight, but then I haven't prepared for it, and I'm like, oh, I can't just ad hoc the fragrances because I want to do some research and testing the longevity and stuff a little bit more, and taking notes just a little bit more. So I'm still doing some testing on some of the fragrances, and then I'll film those. So maybe next weekend I'll have to film those. But yeah, perfume collection is probably one of my higher priority ones that I want to get done. A couple more ASMR videos, but I don't want to have too much of I kind of want to do one of each, because I don't want it to fall too heavy in one direction, because I know there's some of you that don't really want to watch ASMR videos, and that's okay. So I still want to have stuff here for you all to watch too. So if you've got any requests for any other category, or if you see any perfumes and you want reviews on those perfumes, that'd be great to let me know. And that's why I also want to get the perfume collection video up. That way you can see what fragrances I own and then make requests for more detailed reviews. And I don't know if some of you may have noticed in the background it's slightly changed, is these extra little things here. They're a newer addition. There's a few actually, a few different perfumes. So if you notice anything in the background and you recognise, like these are fairly recognisable here, the Caroline Herrera, yeah, the Good Girl perfumes. Let me know. Those are some of the ones that I'm testing out, and I was thinking about, instead of doing a review on each, maybe doing a review on all 4 at the same time, just to share my thoughts on those. I've also got some of the Glasshouse fragrances that I've been trying, and I went through all of my little sample sizes and categorized them the other day, and found a couple that I didn't even know I had, and they were coming up as suggestions for scents that I might like based on what I was researching for in previous fragrance videos, and I didn't realize that I had them, and I've been trying them. I'm like, oh, I really like that. I think it's called Portrait of a Lady is one of them. So I've been testing that one out. That's here. Yeah, it's Portrait of a Lady. Oh, it's so nice. It's such a, it's a really, really pretty fragrance. I've got something that smells similar. The actual, oh, I can't remember what it's called, but I might do a review on this one even though I don't have a full size, because at the moment I just can't justify spending more money on some fragrances right now. Maybe one day, but I was given a few of these as samples, so I've got a couple more left, but I've been using this one. It's such a pretty scent. So even with I might do a video just dedicated to some of my sample sizes, that way you can see what I've got in those, because I can still do reviews based on that. I just can't really go over the bottle. I could use a photo and give you my thoughts, but now I'm just talking. I'm so sorry for just babbling on, but you get me started about perfumes and I can just talk all day. It's something that I have a passion for. I like it. I enjoy talking about them. But I'm going to leave it there, otherwise I'll keep going. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, evening, afternoon or morning, whatever it might be, wherever you are. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye.